the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
And good evening to you. Thanks for staying up late with us. I'm Mark Mullins. Some of President Trump's supporters have gathered outside of Walter Reed Medical Center where the president is spending the night. He's expected to remain there for multiple days as he battles COVID-19 symptoms described as mild. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has the latest on what we know about the president's condition tonight.
President Trump wearing a mask and giving his signature thumbs up as he departed the White House today. The commander-in-chief boarding Marine One en route to Walter Reed Medical Center. The White House saying the president will work from the presidential offices at the hospital for the next few days out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of his physician and medical experts. Sources telling ABC News President Trump experienced fever, low-grade chills, nasal congestion, and a cough, the White House calling his symptoms mild. Earlier, President Trump received a small dose of an experimental antibody cocktail, according to the White House physician. Trump posting a video on Twitter before he departed for the hospital.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well.
Donald Trump Jr. telling ABC News he spoke to his father this morning, describing him as a little tired but in great spirits. Eric Trump calling his father a true warrior. The White House now scrambling to track down who's been in contact with the president and the First Lady, as well as top aide Hope Hicks, who also tested positive. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who was on the stage with President Trump during the debate Tuesday, testing negative. With the election upended by the news, Biden saying this is not a moment for political attacks, pulling all of his negative campaign ads. President Trump, however, continuing to run attack ads targeting Biden on Facebook.
My wife Jill and I prayed that they'll make a quick and full recovery.
Sources also tell ABC News President Trump did not participate in a scheduled call this afternoon about COVID-19 with senior citizens, Vice President Mike Pence stepping in instead. The vice president's spokesperson confirming Pence tested negative today. A White House official tells ABC News President Trump has not transferred power to Vice President Mike Pence at this time. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Several high-profile people who attended last weekend's White House Rose Garden event to announce President Trump's Supreme Court nominee also announced today they have tested positive for COVID. That includes the president of Notre Dame, Father John Jenkins, former White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, Republican Senators Mike Lee and Tom Tillis, and First Lady Melania Trump. And President Trump just tweeted about 10 minutes ago saying, quote, "Going well, I think. Thank you. All love." Of course, the president's health does not just impact him, it impacts the country. Sasha Ingber with our partners at Newsy is getting answers about how President Trump's illness affects national security.
An unprecedented moment for the country as the president tests positive for COVID-19.
To the extent that you've got any leader who may have a real or even a potential hindrance of their ability to lead, then yes, it's a vulnerability.
National security experts say adversaries like China are watching closely.
They'll use this as an example that China is back to business and the U.S. is still, under crisis.
Terrorists are another matter.
There's chances, for example, that random terrorist groups could decide that maybe they wanted to attempt something, maybe outside the U.S.
But experts say any aggression from anyone would be bold.
They're not going to know how sick the president is, most likely. They're not going to have a good idea if he's about to get better or not. And if they were to try something, they don't know if he gets better. Now, how is he going to react to them?
President Trump's physician says he expects the president to be able to carry out his duties without disruption. Even in isolation, the president can maintain communications to give orders. And the military has a clear chain of command with commanders in every part of the world.
It's not like because the president's sick that U.S. operations have stopped somewhere.
Diagnosis prompted messages from foreign leaders for a quick recovery.
On the hypothetical path in which the president becomes more ill, you would have increased anxiety from our allies. You would probably have a more active response from our government to assure them our commitments, will follow as well.
So far, the president has mild symptoms. If his health were to deteriorate, Vice President Mike Pence would be next in line, followed by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. But ailing presidents are nothing new.
Presidents have been sick before in U.S. history. Presidents have died before in U.S. history. And we didn't see any great change in stability during that.
One intelligence officer tells Newsy the diagnosis shows a tremendous lack of security screening, saying the president, quote, has continually thrown caution to the wind to hold his vanity rallies. Neither the White House nor the Pentagon commented on security concerns around Trump's health. Sasha Ingber, Newsy.
And the White House just released a statement saying the president does not require supplemental oxygen. You want to stay with WRTV online and on air, as well as ABC News will bring you the latest developments on the president's battle with COVID-19 and its impact on the White House, the campaign, and the country. A reminder, anyone who lives or works in Indiana can get a free COVID test. You can register by going to lhi.care/COVID testing or by calling this number, 888-634-1116. If you live in Marion County or plan on celebrating Halloween in Marion County, the health department released its COVID safety guidelines today. In-person gatherings or parties of more than 50 people are not permitted per the current public health order. Participating in traditional trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, haunted houses, or any event with people who are not your household are not recommended. No matter how you celebrate, your health department asks that you follow public health orders, including wearing masks and social distancing. Now to the forecast. WRTV Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joining us now, tracking some weekend rain. Kevin.
And it looks like it holds off till the second half of the weekend, Mark. We'll get into more of that timing during my main weather after midnight. That's when I'm at my best. You don't want to miss that. Temperature 41 in Kokomo right now, about ready to lead the way into the 30s. We do expect some patchy frost, especially north and east of Indianapolis, anywhere from Monticello, Delphi, Logansport, then southeast through Anderson, Newcastle, and Connorsville. That's through about 8 a.m. that we'll see our coolest temperatures. Indy should sit at 42. 10 degrees below average for high temperatures tomorrow. Stays partly to mostly cloudy. 16th in Georgetown, the Harvest Grand Prix. Dry conditions, some clouds around, temperatures in the low 60s.
Broad Ripple Avenue is known as a place to have a good time, but neighbors say the bustling bar area has become the scene of reckless behavior that's putting innocent people at risk. WRTV's Cameron Riddle shows why some community leaders are calling on city leaders for help.
There is a problem in Broad Ripple.
We've got some public safety concerns here in Broad Ripple, starting with drag racing and cruising behavior here on the avenue and in the interior neighborhoods, and then just kind of barrages of gunshots happening late night, early morning.
Colleen Fanning is the executive director of the Broad Ripple Village Association. She says most nights around midnight, the Broad Ripple area turns into a drag strip for dozens of cars and motorcycles racing at a high rate of speed.
Cameron, I personally witnessed one that had to be more than 50 motorcycles. They're actually blocking traffic. So they're blocking ongoing traffic so that essentially a motorcade can zip through the neighborhood at very fast speeds, which is incredibly dangerous, especially when it's so dark outside.
Fanning says her organization has started working with IMPD to step up law enforcement tactics before someone gets hurt.
Whether that means speed traps, sobriety checks, DPW putting out some speed tables. We're really working with the city to figure out how we can combat this and keep everyone safe.
But IMPD is not the only city agency Broad Ripple residents want to see more of. Neighbors are also calling on the health department, as well as some business owners, to better enforce social distancing guidelines following scenes like these. Cars and people packing Broad Ripple Avenue for hours in the midst of a pandemic. Between the gunshots, drag racing, and possible pandemic issues, neighbors in Broad Ripple are hoping to put an end to what appears to be reckless behavior.
That's a great way to describe it, and we want to make sure the recklessness doesn't turn into violence.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
WRTV reached out to IMPD to learn more about its plan to work with the Broad Ripple Village Association. The department released a statement saying, in part, quote, IMPD North District maintains an excellent working relationship with the BRVA. This partnership has led to double-digit declines in homicides, aggravated assaults, burglaries, and other property crimes in the area. We will continue conversations focused on current issues related to speeding, reckless driving, and other public safety concerns, end quote. Now to some key things happening Monday. Indianapolis public school students will start in-person learning for the first time this school year. Students will return to classes in phases. The first wave starting next week will only include pre-kindergartners through third graders. The IPS plan includes a hybrid model for some students. Monday is also the deadline to register to vote. You can do so right now online at indianavoters.in.gov. Early voting in Indiana starts Tuesday. And there is still confusion over the U.S. Census. This week, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross announced he intends to conclude the count on Monday. But that came after a judge ruled that the original finish date of October 31st should be reinstated. The judge has instructed the Census Bureau to text every 2020 census worker, telling them the count will continue through the end of the month. Tomorrow, fans will again be in the stands at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Harvest Grand Prix. WRTV's Troy Washington reports fans are a welcome sight for Speedway businesses.
We've already seen the uptick from 2 days ago, actually. People just getting down and around Main Street. Actually can hear the cars.
Chris Hill owns Dawson's on Main Street, where business is already picking up now that fans are back in the stands at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the IndyCar Harvest GP race.
We're super excited, so get some energy back on Main Street.
Jim Gold is one of the fans who got his hands on a ticket to the race. Even though he bought them last minute, he says he got a great deal. And he says it's a great excuse to come out to Main Street on a Friday afternoon.
I love the Indy 500. I love Indianapolis, and it's great to finally get to see a race in person here. I anticipated there would be a few more fans here, but it's great to see the cars out on the track. I love sitting in the stands and watching racing.
This IndyCar fan says he missed watching the Indy 500 in person for the first time in 31 years recently, and he's just happy to be back near the action.
Been to the Indianapolis 500 a lot of times. There's nothing like it, and it'll be great to see the real show on next May.
Hill says the town of Speedway is working with restaurants to make sure they are able to maximize the race experience as much as possible, and to be sure that customers are able to support local.
We've been fortunate. The town of Speedway let us extend our outdoor dining a great deal, and we've been able to capture that.
Working for you in Speedway, Troy Washington, WRTV.
From the town streets of Speedway to the action happening on the Speedway, the first October auto race at IMS saw a first-time IndyCar winner. Next, a recap of the first results from the Harvest GP weekend.
If there's one thing that we've learned here, it's that people have no choice but to pivot or get creative.
The pandemic is forcing many people to start new career journeys. A little later, how two major companies are teaming up to help equip millions of people with in-demand skills for free.
Are you ready? We're stepping into the first weekend of October. It's my job to make sure that you're not surprised. So don't be surprised in the morning if you see some patchy frost. It won't last too long. Frost advisory through about 8 a.m. Temperatures upper 30s. They'll climb into the low 60s. The tug of war is on, though, between clouds and sunshine. We'll stay dry through the day. Not the case Sunday. I think we'll see periods of showers, especially through the first half of the day on Sunday. We definitely take a temperature hit, 57 degrees for the high. Through the day tomorrow, lots of mid to high level clouds. By the time we get to tomorrow night, our chance for rain will increase in the western portion of the state. There's your temperature trend through the day. It won't be too windy. Wind will generally be southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Temperature in the low 60s for the afternoon high in Indianapolis. Areas south may be just a little warmer than that. Peru, Logansport, Marion, you'll struggle to hit 60 degrees. Sunday, there's your change. Our chance for showers starting first thing in the morning into the early afternoon. Notice the overnight temperature is much warmer because of the clouds that we'll have tomorrow night. That'll keep our temperature from falling off too much. Let's pick it up at 4 a.m. Sunday morning. There's the rain in western Indiana. Move it to 7 a.m. coming into central portions of the state and then sliding east from there, still impacting the eastern half of the state in the early afternoon. Cooler temperatures as a result of the clouds and rainfall. Nothing impressive as far as rainfall potential. Now, a quarter of an inch would be impressive compared to what we've had recently, but we need 3 to 4 inches or more of rain to really make a difference. Of course, we don't want it all at once. Temperatures Sunday modestly in the 50s. Then we start to warm up a little bit Monday, noticeable Tuesday, and we settle in to the low 70s on Wednesday. That happens to be the warmest temperature in the 7-day forecast, but even after that, we just cool down a little, stay above average. Thursday and Friday, temperatures around 70. But notice the theme, Monday through Friday of next week should be a beautiful fall week and dry.
Looking forward to that, Kevin. Thank you. Have a great weekend. A crisp autumn day turned out to be perfect for racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Plenty of excitement on the track, but no doubt which driver had the best car today. Brad Brown has a look back at the first of 2 IndyCar races on the weekend schedule.
Several thousand fans in the stands as racing got back on track at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rinus VeeKay starting on pole for the first of 2 at the Harvest Grand Prix this weekend. Had his hands full from the very start, though, and a battle with Colton Herta right into lap number 1. Herta and VeeKay would go back and forth, a pair of the IndyCar Series young stars, each just 20 years old. Herta with the pass on lap number 2 for the lead. They would trade it back and forth, as would Santino Ferrucci and Ryan Hunter-Reay. This on lap 15, going into the first 2 turns of the road course. A little contact, a little more contact, then a spin. Both of those guys into the grass and worked their way to the back of the pack early on. Back to VeeKay and Herta. Another battle on lap number 20. A little back and forth, in and around down Holman Boulevard. Back to Herta in the lead. VeeKay, though, would keep right there at the pace, take it back as well. Both of those guys would have a chance to lead the front of the field early. Joseph Newgarden, though, making a pit stop in the middle of the race, would have an opportunity to keep himself at the front of the pack. The points battle with Scott Dixon continues. Dixon with Jimmy Johnson in his pit looking on. Struggled a little bit as the day went on. More on that in a moment. Meanwhile, Herta had himself back up front, but on lap 59, locked up the tires going into turn number 1. He was losing the back end of that car, so he went to the pits. Joseph Newgarden went to the lead. Newgarden would dominate from there and pull away from the pack down the final 25 laps. There was no doubt about it when the double checkered flag flies. 14 seconds the margin at the end as Newgarden gets his very first IndyCar Series victory at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. VeeKay got himself on the podium as he would get past Herta again late for a third-place finish. Alexander Rossi in between them finished second. As for that points championship, Scott Dixon lost a couple spots late, ended up 9th. So Newgarden cuts into that margin and gets the win on Friday at IMS to go with it.
Yeah, we had a rocket ship. I knew we did yesterday in qualifying. I was so surprised by how quick the car was. And then it was a great fight today. It was all about, it was strategy, it was close combat, it was everything you want in an IndyCar race, and I was just happy I had the quickest car.
So the margin is now 40 points, with Dixon ahead of Newgarden in the point standings. The magic number to consider is 54. If Dixon can gain more than 14 points in Saturday's race, he'll clinch the series championship ahead of the season finale, October 25th in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's get a look at some high school football on a Friday night. Week 7, Mooresville making the trip down to Whiteland. Warriors thinking upset in this one. Jonathan Crowley finds the end zone with a powerful run and a 14-0 lead early. Mooresville would come back. Quarterback Nicholas Patterson punches this one in. Pioneers would take the lead. Eventually, the game tied at 35 would go to overtime. That's where Whiteland gets the game winner. Chase Valentine from 3 yards out gets it done. Whiteland hands Mooresville their first loss of the season. The Warriors improved to 6-1 with the win. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Technology from a Broad Ripple-based company is exploding in popularity as people continue to rely on virtual communication due to the pandemic. CoVideo specializes in personalized video messaging. Instead of typing out an email or a text message, you create a quick video to send to your recipient. The company has been around for about 15 years and has more than 30,000 customers around the world. According to CoVideo's database, video engagement has increased by 40% since March. And in the last 6 months, the company has added 50 colleges and universities to its clientele. Ivy Tech started using the tool in August.
This could be a really great tool for our students. We know that students will watch a video for a couple minutes, more so than they'll read a long email. When we think about retention in higher education especially, having a relationship with students is really what impacts their retention. giving them a place where they feel like they belong, somebody that they feel like they can connect to. Putting a face with a name a lot of times helps to make a student feel like there's someone who's approachable at the college.
With more business, the video messaging company is adding employees. If CoVideo seems like a good fit for you, go to hiringhoosiers.com for more information. An effort by Microsoft and LinkedIn to help people rebound reached more than 10 million job seekers in 231 countries and territories. Scripps reporter Stephanie Stone reports there's a new goal to provide digital skills to 25 million.
They admit it was and still is an ambitious initiative to reach that many people, to target the digital space and help get people the skills they need to work in our new and changed world.
It is really been a challenging time for so many people, but I think there are a few things that people can really do during this period to upskill. I mean, we all need to learn new skills every day.
Naria Santalucia is General Manager of Digital Inclusion at Microsoft Philanthropies. Part of her job is to help people get a job. She says the program has reached people all over the world and all over the nation.
And we've really seen a great uptake from states like California, Texas, New York, Florida, Illinois, Virginia, Washington. But like I said, every single state has had a learner.
She highlights people like David, who quit his job hoping for more opportunity right before the shutdown. He logged on to opportunity.linkedin.com and it worked. The Learning Path offers interview help, critical skills, and collaboration tools.
He decided it was time to try something new, and he came onto the content, and he was able to supplement that technical background with the customer service skills to enhance his resume and then become more attractive to employers. He has landed a temporary position, and he's really looking forward to parlaying that into full-time employment after that role concludes.
If there's one thing that we've learned here, it's that people have no choice but to pivot or get creative or support whatever people need to do in order to work from home, in order to survive.
I'm pretty optimistic that we're gonna find our way out of this pandemic. But even if in the worst case we don't, we'll find ways of working around it. And more jobs are going to be online friendly or, social distancing friendly.
Guy Berger is principal economist at LinkedIn. Berger and his team just finished the workforce report for October, tracking labor trends, who's been hired, where people are working, where they're moving.
These reports in the late spring were pretty glum. Hiring in the United States was down something like 40% relative to where it was a year ago. That's huge. We've never seen that big of a drop in our data in the last few years. The good news is, if you look at these reports, is they've improved. Right now, we're in a much better place.
The report shows that places like Austin, Texas, and Charlotte, North Carolina are gaining the most people. While the restaurant industry and travel and tourism are still down, there's been growth in areas like wellness and fitness. Naria Santalucia says the initiative identified the top 10 in-demand jobs like software development, sales representative, customer service specialist, and project management.
Life gets in the way. All of us, we're trying to juggle helping our kids, like kind of running e-schools and in the other room. We're thinking about other struggles. We're worried about, the pandemic and kind of still exposure in the health arena as well. One of the really great things about this content is that you can start it, you can put it down if you need to, which is what I had to do as life got a little busy, and then you can go back to it as well.
Another popular course is that of diversity inclusion.
There's a huge target there. There's also really thinking about race equity and how can we reach individuals who are Black and African American and really in this moment, provide that opportunity for them to also become reskilled and upskilled as well.
She recommends making a plan for yourself, keeping record, taking advantage of conferences, which are now virtual and often free. And once you get your completion certificate, it's one more thing you can add to your profile to help you stand out amongst the crowds who are looking for work. I'm Stephanie Stone, reporting.
Won't be long. It's time to get out the rake and start moving those leaves around. Of course, there's still more in the trees than on the yard. 56 at noon, 61 the afternoon high. Mark?
It's a way to keep the kids busy all weekend. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe weekend, everybody.